Welcome to the Eagle Mom Squad YouTube video of portfolios. We thought we'd show you some examples of portfolio binders and their different elements from elementary school and from high school. So we have two binders here. The first thing we're going to point out is the log. So there are lots of different ways of doing a log. Here's one way where you have the different subjects that are required in elementary school. You can see that we didn't do each subject each day, and I just jotted down this year just a reminder of what went on. That doesn't even have to happen, but it is a log that's happening while you're doing your schooling so that you can record a little bit about each day that you do school. And then we have some other examples here. Here's another way to do the log. Do you have other examples?
These are actually high school, but they could be done the same. Get it in there. So they just have the subjects down the side and to fill in what they did each day for that subject. And then this one has the subjects listed already printed, and then they just fill in what they did that day. This helps to keep you on track too, so you can look back and see what you're accomplishing.
Great. And another element is a list of materials used. I actually did the reading list separate from resources that we used. So here's an elementary level resource list. And then I also had a list of reading materials just for fun and educational.
I think mostly this list is just books that my child read throughout the year, and this is not the textbooks that we used. That would have been included in the individual subject areas on our summary that I would put in each of the portfolios for each child.
So you can see that the binder can be divided by subject. Here I have language arts that's divided into different parts of language arts: grammar, spelling, writing, that kind of thing. Arithmetic, examples of work from the beginning of the year, the middle of the year, the end of the year. This one happens to have world history, U.S. history, PA history, science, health and safety, physical education, music, art, and that can be a whole portfolio in itself. Any of these subjects, if your child has a lot of interest in them, can have larger sections devoted to that. And we also wanted to mention that you can include photos of your child in their different activities, because the portfolio really becomes like a scrapbook over the years that they can look back at. You want to, if it's in Pennsylvania in 3rd, 5th, or 8th grade, you want to include any standardized testing that you've done that's required in 3rd, 5th, and 8th. You can do standardized testing in other years, but you don't have to, it's not required by law. Also, we talked about in our podcast we just produced, you can have a summary of the work that was done over the year, just the progress that the student made in each subject. And that's kind of fun to put together, sometimes with your student. So that kind of summary can look like that.
And here's a summary that I produced for my child in 4th grade, I think it was, just covering each of the subjects and what we did throughout the year. And that's where I would also include the textbooks that we used or the curriculum that we used.
Great. And then if we look at a high school level binder, it's going to have a little more detail perhaps. I think the student often is the one who's recording the entries, and by the end of our logs, I made this actually as a spreadsheet, which made it easier for the evaluator to look at, where my student recorded her work each day, just jotted down a brief note about what was going on, and then I just transferred that to a Excel spreadsheet, and thereby made a contiguous log, contemporaneous log of what we were doing.
And we used a tutorial throughout the year, and that met on 2 days of the week. So I would just take the syllabi from each of the classes, or the syllabus from each of the classes, and include that in my portfolio, because that showed the evaluator things that were done throughout the week, throughout the year, by class. And that's how we handled high school particularly.
And just another example of a different summary.
So this is a high school summary, all the subjects, of course, and how they were covered. For instance, either a textbook or down one of these subjects were covered as a college class that the student attended, band and Bible. Then I also included extracurricular activities, which you'll want to have there for your evaluator. So if they're writing a detailed evaluation letter, especially for your diploma programs, you can include, these will be included with the high school transcript when it's sent to a college, and they'll be able to see a more detailed explanation of what the student did during their high school years.
And again, when we did a tutorial, I included in my portfolio the school year calendar, so the evaluator could see, that we actually were doing school. And then in my summary, very similar to the last summary I showed you, going through each subject and the curriculum that was used and all the, or most of the subject matter that was included in each of the curriculums.
Also, you may want to include grades if your evaluator is producing a transcript for a diploma program. Thank you so much for joining us today with this portfolio share for evaluations in Pennsylvania.